Hello students, we're going to talk about the midpoint formula. The midpoint formula helps you find out where the middle point is of a line segment. The midpoint is the point that divides a segment into two congruent segments. So here's segment AB or line segment AB. And if I want to find the midpoint, it's the point exactly in the middle. It's the point that divides the segment into two congruent parts. Midpoint, the point that divides a segment into two congruent segments. And there's a formula that we can use to find that. So that's the definition. Here you can see it, a midpoint of a segment is the point that divides the segment into two congruent segments. This point right here is the midpoint. It's exactly in the middle between P and Q. PQ is the segment, and point M is the midpoint. And points have two numbers in them. They have the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. And this point also has two numbers in it, the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. If you know these four numbers, you can use them to find the coordinates of the midpoint. And the way to do that is with this formula right here. So let's practice. When you use a formula, it's always a good idea to write it on your paper. So we're going to write the midpoint formula. And the midpoint formula is going to tell you the X coordinate and the Y coordinate. It's like a giant point. The formula itself is a giant point. You're going to add the X coordinates together and find the halfway. And you're going to add the Y coordinates together and find halfway. So for this problem, I usually use a capital M, and I want to find the midpoint of line segment AB. And I need four numbers to substitute into this formula. I need the X's from both of the points, and I need the Y's from both of the points. So here's a point. It has an X and a Y. I could call that the X and the Y of the first point. And there's another point over here that has an X and a Y. And I can call that the X and the Y of the second point. So what do I need to do? I need to add -3 and 4. So I do -3 plus 4. Adding the X's and finding halfway. And then I'm going to add the Y values. So Y1 is 2. And Y2 is -2. And I'm going to add that together. That's going to tell me the coordinates of the midpoint. So -3 plus 4 is 1. That's 1/2. 2 plus -2 is 0. 0 divided by 2. And I can simplify just a little bit more. We like fractions better than decimals in math class. So that would be the coordinates of the midpoint. Now we can look on the graph and see if that looks like the middle. If I start here and I go half in the X direction and 0 in the Y direction, do I land? Is this point right here the middle of the line segment? Does that look right to you? This point is at 1/2 for the X and 0 for the Y. That looks like the middle to me. This distance here is 2 and 2, and the middle was at 0. And this distance here, if I could count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Halfway is 3.5. So I can find the middle of the X coordinates and the middle of the Y coordinates. And that would tell me the middle of the line segment. Let's do another one. It's good to practice these. So the midpoint formula is this big point that has the x's added together and divided by 2 and the y's put together and divided by 2. If I want to find the midpoint of line segment CD, I need to know the x's for the C and D, and I need to know the y's for C and D. So what are the x coordinates for C and D? We got a -2 and an 8. And what are the y coordinates? We have a 5 right here. The y coordinate, this is the x and the y. And we have another x and another y, because all points have an x and a y in them. So this is 5 and -12. I can simplify. 2 and -8 is, -2 and 8 is 6. And 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, this is -7. You could leave it like that, or you could continue to simplify to 3. You can do -3.5. It's always a good idea to sketch this and see if this point actually looks like it's in the middle of these 2 points. I have some graph paper here, so I could do a pretty accurate sketch. I could go exactly to -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could put a point right there. That's called point C. And I could go to 8, -12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, down 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, way down there. And that would be point D. And my answer was 3, -3. -3.5. Does it look like my point is in the middle of those two? I think I did a pretty good job. I'm going to say that yeah, I verified. You could also open up Desmos and type these points in and type this point in and see if it looks like it's the middle, if you don't want to hand sketch it. I'm going to skip this one for the video lesson. We actually skipped it in class too, so. All right, here are some fun challenges. So we know how to find halfway. Can we find part of the way? This is a little more interesting. So in order to do this, we find this distance, and instead of finding half of it, we find 3/5 of it. So if I'm traveling from along this horizontal, and I don't want to stop halfway, I want to figure out where 3/5 of the way is. So that's the math problem I'm going to do first. I'm going to look at what we call the horizontal distance. And I'm going to figure out how long that is. Now, on a graph like this, I could just count it. To get from A to B, this is 3, right? And I'm getting up to 13. So how far is it from 3 up to 13? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10. It's 10 units to get from 3 to 13. Okay, the math for that is to take the x coordinates and subtract them. Okay, so in this problem, I could do the absolute value of 13 minus 3, which is absolute value of 10, which is 10. Okay, all that to say, if I count from here to here, I have 10. Okay, now I don't want all the way, and I don't want halfway. If I wanted halfway, I would know that I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Halfway would be right here. But now I want 3/5 of the way. So the best way to do that is to multiply by 3/5. So we're going to do 3/5 times 10. Right? I see that 10 is actually made of 5 times 2. Or I could do 3 times 10 is 30 divided by 5. What is that? 3 times 10, 30 divided by 5 is 6. So that means halfway is 5. 3/5 of the way is here. Oh, this is weird. Okay, if I'm trying to get from A over somewhere else, this is 3/5 of the distance. This is half, this is a little more than half, right? This is one whole length away. This is 3/5 of the way, right about there. Okay, now that means I know 3/5 of the way from A to B, I know that it's going to be this far, this direction. So now the question is, how far this direction? Well, we're going to do the same thing with the vertical distance, and I'm going to count and see how far is it up and down. Now we do the vertical distance. I don't want halfway this time, I want 3/5 of the way. So for the vertical distance, we take the change in the y's. In this problem, it goes all the way up to 11, and it goes all the way down to -4. That's a vertical change of 15. Okay, so if I was going to count from 11 down to here is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Points A and B are 15 apart in the vertical direction. Now, I'm trying only to get 3/5 of the way from A to B. If I was trying to get halfway, it would be 7.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. It would be right. This would be halfway. This would be halfway about right here. But I want 3/5 of the way. So I want to go from here up only 3/5, and I want to know how far that is. So I'm going to take 3/5 times 15, and that's going to be 9. So it's more than halfway, right? If it was halfway, it would be 7.5, but I have to go up 9. 3/5 of this distance. 3/5 of the distance equals 6. And on this side, 3/5 of 15 equals 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is all the way up to there. This is 3/5 of the vertical distance, which is 9. Okay, now to finish this problem, I still need to find the coordinates of the point 3/5 of the way. So I know I have to go 6 this way and 9 this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to the x coordinate, I'm going to add 6. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I added 6 to the x coordinate. Okay, now I have to add how much? I have to add 9 up from -4. So I'm at -4 and I need to go up 9. So -4, -3, -2, -1, 0. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right here. So this is my point. That is a point that is not the midpoint. It's a point that is 3/5 of the way from here to here. And the answer to this problem is that 3 plus 6 is 9. And -4 plus 9 is 5. That's the answer to this problem. Woo, that's a fun problem. Lots to do in that problem. First, you find the horizontal distance, and then you multiply it by whatever you're trying to do. Then you find the vertical distance, and you multiply it by whatever number you wanted. And then the last step was to add the two numbers that you got. So here we add 6, and here we added 9. And that gave us our final answer. 3 plus 6 is 9, -4 plus 9 is 5. Here's another picture of it, just more beautifully drawn. Okay, last problem of this type. Suppose line segment PQ has an endpoint at 0, 0. If 2, 5 is the midpoint of line segment PQ, what are the coordinates of point Q? Okay, so I'm going to sketch it. We know we have I like using graph paper. You could also, like I said, go to Desmos and do it. And here is 0, 0. There's point P, right at the origin. Origin's always a nice point. And now it says if 2, 5 is the midpoint. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the middle. I'm going to name it M for midpoint. What are the coordinates of point Q? All right, so for this one, we have the midpoint, but we need to find the other endpoint. The best way to think about this is how much did we move to get from P up to M? Okay, a really good way to think of this is slope. Okay, we had to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and right 1, 2. So if I want to find the other endpoint, I've got to do that again. I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and right 2. That is going to be point Q. Okay, so up 5, right 2, up 5, right 2, that gets me to the coordinates. So another way to think about it is that we had to double it. Since point P was at the origin, we could just go 2 doubled is 4. And we can go 5 doubled is 10. Oops. Let's write 5 there. Oh, that's too messy for me. 10. Okay, how would you find Q if 2, 5 was only 1/4 of the way? So this wasn't the middle point, this was a quarter of the way. So this is going to be a really long line segment, isn't it? It's going to be way bigger. Okay, so this is only 1/4 of the way. I'm going to draw it this way. This is 1/4 of the segment. And then if I did that again, that would be 2/4. Okay, this would not be point Q anymore. This would now be the midpoint, because that would be 2/4 is half, isn't it? And then we would have to do it again. We'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. That would be 3/4 of the way. Did I do that right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. And then if I wanted 4/4 of the way, the total, I would have to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. It would be all the way up here would be the new point Q. Yeah. So the first answer was 4, 10. Just double it. And this answer is, well, you would have to multiply it by 4. So this would be just the 3/4 of the way. And then the final answer would be all the way up here at, well, 2, 4, 6, 8. This would be 8 in that direction. And what do you think? How high is that? 5, 10, 15, 20. It's always good to draw yourself a picture and think it through. Okay, use technology, use Desmos, etc. Okay, that's it for today. Geometry is a language used to talk about shapes and their relationships. Good luck. You guys are great. Goodbye, students.